Okay, today's video, we're going to talk about newsletter promotion with ads. Here's an ad funnel that's going to work to grow a newsletter from ground zero or from 0 subscribers, okay? Now, there is a catch with promoting a newsletter a lot of people don't recognize. A newsletter by itself, just selling advertising, generally speaking, isn't that profitable until you've hit a certain critical mass with what you're doing. That is 10,000 subscribers or more, because nobody cares to advertise on your newsletter. So if you're trying to just sell advertisements as a way to finance a newsletter, you're not going to be able to do it until you've gotten way further down the line, which can be great and everything. And really, even then, it should just be a second source of income, whereas your primary source is other tools, which I'm going to talk about. But with that said, very few people can afford to grow a newsletter to 10,000 subscribers without other means of financing the newsletter, because it's expensive to run ads or just even in general promote a newsletter. Unless you already have a following or know somebody who has a following that's going to pitch it for free for you, you don't really have an option to get it to 10,000 subscribers without spending money. Or with that, you're going to have to dump a whole pile of cash into it to get it going, to where you may have to dump, to get to 10,000 subscribers, you certainly might have to dump $1 million of cash into it, which it would be profitable for you to do that, considering you could now make another 10 grand to 20 grand worth of passive income from that newsletter once it was up, well, semi-passive, because you still got to manage writers. Once it's going, then you could obviously sell that newsletter later on, and once you have that level of news subscribers, it's going to spin off its own subscribers through word of mouth. But for the average person who doesn't have $1 million in cash to throw at a newsletter to get to the first 10,000 subscribers, no matter how good that writing is, or without having to, go on social media and spam your links to your newsletter everywhere, which would be your only other resource that you had starting with no cash, there's a better way to finance that newsletter. Maybe not the exact way that you want, but it's a tried and true way, of which I've done this with a financial newsletter and can explain how you can replicate the same thing for yourself. I'm going to talk about how the financial newsletter did this, what type of numbers they got in terms of specifically running ads to pump up the initial newsletter subscribers that they had. So they bought their newsletter subscribers, but with the revenue that the business of having that newsletter, the newsletter business itself, paid for the cost of the ads, so they were able to scale up without needing $1 million of cash, at least up front, monetizing the newsletter in an alternate way that most people aren't thinking about when they traditionally think about starting a newsletter business. So with that said, getting into the content, here is the actual funnel, if you will, to promote a newsletter in a profitable way that's not going to take the upfront cash to get to the 10,000 subscribers, where subscribers are going to basically grow on their own at that point in time. Okay? So I'm going to just speak about the financial newsletter that I had a client that was promoting a newsletter that wanted to run ads for it, what we built for them, so you can understand how you can basically do this for your own business, because this is the best way to explain it. This method here will work if you have a lifetime value from a customer you can get, or a client if you can get, that's at least 5 figures or more. So your ways to finance, or the ways to replicate this for yourself, would be primarily selling courses where you would have multiple courses for sale, or clients being the much easier one, because people are willing to pay more money to be a client and have do it for you services on top of that, not just like consulting or coaching by itself. But also you could sell courses as well. So really what the newsletter is doing is pulling in customers for you, or clients of either one of those things, which then goes into feeding the ad spend that you need to grow the newsletter. And then, like I said, at some point, when you get 10,000 subscribers, you could switch to an advertising model if you wanted to purely, or just use it as a secondary source of income. And then, of course, the content quality is going to grow the newsletter at that point in time, of which the advertising pays for the writers to grow the newsletter, and you can take on that traditional model of running a newsletter. Whereas at the beginning, if you're just doing the writing, you could do client work with the people reading the newsletters and use that to finance the ads that are going to grow the newsletter to the first 10,000 subscribers. So with that said, and of course, what you're going to have into this system, just keep in mind as you go through this, running ads for growing your newsletter business. You put crap traffic in, you're going to get crap out. You can try to advertise in the cheapest places because advertising cost and cost per click on advertising is directly related to demand for the traffic. You can get offshore people subscribing to your newsletter. They're not going to be worth nearly as much, so don't fall for that trap first and foremost. And furthermore, you want quality people who actually would want to read your newsletter to subscribe. There's no point in getting these tire kicker people. Where is it that somebody who actually would love to find your newsletter, that's where you want to go. And then you want to gear your content that's going to suck them into the newsletter fold. Be similarly geared, because naturally, that's the type of person that you need to drive into your newsletter in the first place. No gimmicks here, okay? Your content that you're going to promote at the beginning really is just a taste of what you get when you subscribe to the newsletter. What most people are going to try to do is say, hey, I have a newsletter, ha ha ha, sign up, and it's good. No, what you're going to do is you're going to push out content that's going to make people think, oh, that content was good, so your newsletter is going to be good. I see far too many people promoting whatever, and they say, oh, we have a newsletter, you should sign up for it. No. You should realize that the sample content is like a free trial for like a software. Software companies get this. They give a free trial of the software, and once you're addicted to it, that's the time they ask you to buy. That's the model that you want to go with this. Yes, you're paying to give them free content at the beginning, which nobody wants to do that. But that's what's going to get them to actually want to subscribe to your newsletter more than anything else. So your user starts out with a problem. Your newsletter, if it's not starting out solving a problem that most people want solved, that is, the easy three are, they want to make money, they want to have better health, they want to get laid or reproduce or whatever you want to say there. If your newsletter isn't solving one of those things, you're going to have a tough road to go down, because most people don't want to spend money solving, rudimentary stuff like how to make your car run better, or, yes, that can be indirectly tied to money, and that's not what I'm talking about here. But for the most people that run a newsletter that's going to be successful, particularly with this model, they're going to have one of those. The newsletter is going to be tied to one of those three things. And furthermore, if you think you're going to want to run a newsletter business and your content's not centered around one of those three things, you should rethink what you're doing right from the start, because it's going to be 100 times easier to grow a successful business because they're always willing to spend money to fix one of those three problems. So if the user starts out with a problem that you're going to try to solve, okay? In this case, with the financial newsletter, the user wants to grow his money. Not make money, but grow it. So with the distinction there being, they might be a doctor or a lawyer, they have money, they want to get the best return for their income through passive investments. Investing in apartment buildings, investing in stocks, investing in bonds, stuff like that, not necessarily how to start a hot dog stand. So we know that's the problem, and we know that furthermore, the important thing, like I said, is that there's a direct one-to-one correlation here. We know that our newsletter solves this exact problem, so if we put out their content that offers information about this exact topic and somebody responds to it, it's already the perfect person that we can ask to subscribe to the newsletter, and will likely want to subscribe to the newsletter, or as likely as possible. There's a lot of people that would watch a video on YouTube about a topic but would not subscribe to a newsletter, and that's fine, there is 2 or 3% of those people that would subscribe to a newsletter, because that's basically the population of the general population, people who like newsletters. They like to see the latest and greatest and what's the latest thing I can do to get this done. And that's your audience. But to get to that person, which you can't necessarily do unless you went after, which is a whole different route, because if you have another financial newsletter, you could advertise your newsletter to those people, but that in and itself isn't that great because they don't know who you are, and just because you say you're great doesn't mean it's gonna be that great. You can advertise content that will then later on sell your newsletter to people who subscribe to another newsletter, and that in and itself is very, very good. But you're not just gonna say, hey, I have another newsletter, because that in and itself isn't very effective. So you're going to have an ad, though, for somebody who wants to grow his money. You should already kind of do your research about the type of person that wants to grow your money. I know this because I'm in the advertising space. We know it's a higher income professional that's making six figures, doctor, lawyer, that type of thing, that we want to get in front of. That's going to be the type of person who we would want to be on our newsletter, that eventually the newsletter is going to be valuable to our newsletter company, because people are going to want to advertise to them specifically, and we can sell a lot of things to them. So we have an ad that shows up for them that says, highest returning investments for 2025. The year wasn't 2025 when we initially started this, but just giving you an example here. But that was basically the general premise of the ad. We had banner ads we ran that would drive people to a video on YouTube, which so few people know about this hack. Video does better than anything to communicate value and information. You can send people to a landing page with a bunch of text. People don't want to read it anymore. Not to say it can't work. If they're interested enough, they'll damn well read that text. But the best thing to do when they don't know who you are is just to give them a video, because it doesn't take a lot of energy to watch video. So they see this ad. First of all, it's the perfect person we want to sign up for our newsletter. They see the ad, they go watch the video. The video is like 20 minutes in length. In 20 minutes time, because just as a aside, we look for clients on this YouTube channel. I'm not afraid to say it. We run an advertising agency. There's a lot of people that say, Corey, you need to make your video shorter. I know that for our own firm, if we're going to get an ideal client, it's not going to be somebody who wants two minutes of information on a topic. They want to know more, and that's not who we want. So we make our long form videos here for people that really want information about how to run ads successfully. And in this case, it was the same way. We want people, especially that would read a newsletter, that's going to want in-depth information about the topic at hand. So we, as a part of our weed out tool, we'll have a longer style video about what are these highest returning investments as a weed out tool. And if they get to the end of that video, they're like perfect in terms of, we know they want lots of information. We know they're already the perfect prospect, and that we've got the respect from them enough to listen to what we have to say. You've earned the respect. A lot of people, they would, if they were running a channel like I am here, they would ask people to be their client at the start or middle of the video because they can get in front of more people. But the reality is nobody is going to respect what I have to say, or my asks that I have to ask users that want to read my blog or whatever, because I try to drive people there as well, until I've already provided a lot of value in my initial video, that people were trying to find information about a specific topic. They got to my video, they watched it all the way through, then they're going to be receptive to a message like that about go and read my blog. And then even then, it's after they read my blog, then maybe they will turn into a client somewhere down the line. So anyway, if you're wondering about numbers here, we would pay about $1 a click for everybody who would go to the video ad. $1 per click. To get in front of doctors, you're going to be paying more per click. Just know that for a high value audience like that. Then we got about a 0.2% conversion rate to either a person that would subscribe to our channel, or somebody that would want to ask a question. Because what the video was, which I would recommend you replicate in this case, it's the easiest way. It's going to be a channel like mine where it's not just going to be like some B-roll footage and like a voiceover where you can't see anybody. No, it's a personalized video where it's got a talking head style video like this. Why a talking style video? Because you can build a connection with that user. And the newsletter, if it's in the voice of you see how all this ties together here. So it's me, or someone like me on the video that's talking about, okay, this is actually that given the highest return in 2025, and so is this, and so is this. And they value that individual person's, knowledge and just respect that person, and while they're watching the video, they learn what that person's like. If a person, at the end of the video, you could say you could either subscribe like we did there, or if you have a question about these highest return investments that I didn't cover on this video, you can actually go to my landing page here, which you don't call a landing page, of course, and you can actually fill out this this form here, and you can ask any question that you want. Of course, anybody who gets to where they ask a question to you, you can answer it, of course. But then they're automatically opted in to the newsletter. Automatically, you just throw them on there. I know there's technically like rules and regulations that say you're supposed to have like a checkbox on the form saying you're going to subscribe to the newsletter, and you can do that. We didn't necessarily do that. I wouldn't recommend you do that. I just recommend you sign them up automatically. If they don't like it, naturally, whatever. But that's the funnel right there. And then of the people who subscribe or ask a question, okay, about 2% of those people are going to turn into a client. So this client would have a back-end service to finance this whole engine here. They would have an investment advisor service to power this whole engine. They would try to get those clients in that type of business. If you don't know what it is, you advise clients on what they should invest in. They take like a 1% cut, management fee for all of the different advice they dish out. There's different models to do this. But you're an advisor to that person on what to invest. And obviously, it ties all in with the initial content. What's the best returning things that if you're speaking as that expert, they're going to trust you by the end of the video. If you go ahead and you mention in the newsletter that you're an advisor and that content on that newsletter is written by you, which if you have ghostwriters, you still just make it sound like it's coming from you, because you build up a higher and higher and higher level of respect from that person all the time. And then on the YouTube channel, if they subscribe to that, you have the YouTube channel going as well, and you similarly at the end of your videos each time saying that you have an advisor business. If you are interested in getting a free consultation, you can reach out. 2% of the subscribers to the newsletter/channel now will be a client. And of those clients, the average lifetime value of a client in that space is 5 figures, into the 5-figure range. Why is that? Because usually when somebody signs up with somebody, assuming they like them, they trust them, they do a good job, they're a celebrity in this space like you would have in this case, they're going to stay for 10, 20, 30 years a lot of times. And with that, obviously, if you have $1 million in investable assets, that's 10 grand a year if you just have a 1% management fee or advisor fee, if you want to call it that. So with that said, that's your kind of your numbers. You're going to get, of the people who get to the video, you're going to have about 0.2% of people that are going to subscribe to that channel, that same YouTube channel that the video that they saw is on, or ask a question to get on the newsletter. And then of the people who subscribe or ask to get on the newsletter inadvertently by asking a question, you're going to get about 2% of those people like we did here, or roughly thereof, to become a client. That client now, so the math here works out at $1 a click, you're at about a 5 grand cost per acquisition per client using this funnel. But your lifetime value per client is around $50,000. You actually got like a 10-to-1 return. This is good. And if all you wanted to do was get clients, you could run this model, and who cares about the newsletter if it ever makes money? But the great thing about this thing is you're working and using your own labor, so to say, to build this newsletter business. Eventually, if you get tired of working with clients, the newsletter outgrows the income of the advisor business. Even though you can manage a lot of clients, you can only manage so many and build a relationship with so many. You can make more money from a successful newsletter that's consistently growing. Then eventually you just get into the point where you can charge way more for your fees, which will greatly reduce the amount of people that can do business with you. So it's not like really a panacea. Or you could just simply go to focusing almost all your time on the newsletter and then sell ads. And then that's an infinitely scalable business, assuming your writing quality stays where it needs to be. And it actually would get better if you're going to spend a higher percentage of your time on the writing. The advertising is going to consistently keep bringing in more money for you. The more money that you have, naturally, you can fund back into ads to drive the newsletter subscribers. And the whole thing just keeps going, so to say. But respectively, like I said before, the ads are not necessarily probably, because it's about $100 per subscriber that it's going to cost in terms of advertising costs, just to get somebody to subscribe to your newsletter that's going to, that's actually serious about staying on it and, got through a initial video enough to where now they're going to subscribe and they're actually going to be sticky. So it's, running ads to build up new subscribers isn't going to really be the way, but the client work here got the initial 10,000 subscribers that then, at least at that point in time, you don't need ads anymore. Your subscribers will just keep growing on their own. You don't need to finance the growth of the subscribers through ads, even though you technically could do that, but it wouldn't be profitable. You would run it at a loss, trying to run ads to get a subscriber that then advertising spend that you sell through the newsletter would have to pay for the ad spend that it took to get them as a subscriber in the first place. So, which in the newsletter business, it's obviously like solo ads. You're going to run targeted ads within your newsletter. And there's different ways to advertise there. Blast emails. You can do all kinds of things with the newsletter in terms of selling advertising. But with that model, you can finance that first 10,000 pretty easily. The other thing you can do is just sell courses itself to finance the initial 10,000. You're not going to sell a course for $50,000, obviously, but if your courses are good enough, you sell a string of them and you get really good at pitching the courses through, naturally, you send out individual emails that pitch a course. People who buy the first course then are on a specialized list, sell a second and a third, and you get the lifetime value of somebody that's on the course buyers list. Then you can finance the 10,000 that way instead of actually doing client work, so to say. And if you really didn't want to do that, but that's a much more challenging road, because in order to make a course good enough, it's like trying to build a career as a novelist. The best way to promote a novel is by writing, as they say in the space, writing another novel, because people who read the one novel will automatically want to read another. And that's how usually it works, because paid advertising methods to promote a novel, given that you can sell a novel for like $10 or $20, isn't profitable. So they run at a loss the initial novel sales. And as a result of that, they get the customer that will then now buy the next one and the next one and the next one. So you could do it if you were really, really good at writing courses and sales copy to sell those courses, but it's tough. It's much easier as an average marketer to market a 5-figure service, which that service, you're not paying the 5-figure all at once. You're paying a little bit and then a little bit more. They don't realize it obviously at first, but eventually they're paying you an average of $50,000 over their lifetime. It's easier just to sell a done for you service, because that's what people want more than a course. Unless that course is in like some dark art that you can't find how to do that thing anywhere. If it's just a run-of-the-mill course on like how to do your own investing, like what we would have had to do with this client's example, it's not going to be easy at all. And I just don't recommend you, generally speaking, go after that route. But anyway, that is how you could build a newsletter up from scratch, get it to where it makes millions of dollars a year, and where you could sell it, starting from zero and without needing that $1 million worth of ad spend up front to get to the first 10,000 subscribers easily. You're just doing more manual work to monetize the list that you're generating, selling high dollar services or courses if you plan on doing that. Mainly high dollar services to the people that you get to subscribe as a way to finance the people that are going to get on the list initially and get to a point where the newsletter is going to grow organically on its own. and of course places where you can advertise a newsletter, the more that you get in terms of the of people on that newsletter, the more that those services are going to recommend you, and there's a flywheel effect. But getting a newsletter started at the beginning is damn hard, given you have no money or presumably have no money to promote it, and nobody's talking about it. And if it were easy, by the way, everybody would do it. Everybody wants to start a newsletter business because, basically speaking, it's easy. It's about as passive as it gets. You hire writers to write, and that's it. I mean, there's not. Everybody wants to do a business like that. You have to get creative in the initial part of things to get the first 10,000 subscribers. That's the best, easiest way that I personally know of, and that I've seen anybody that's talked about having a newsletter that's done it before. So anyway, with that said, I'll wrap everything up with that. If you have any questions about anything I covered here today, let me know. I didn't, by the way, mention the email component here, by the way. Naturally, I kind of did, but if it wasn't obvious, once somebody gets on your newsletter list, you're having all kinds of email communication with them about other things that they could buy and, about you as a person, but you don't do it too much. You have to sprinkle it in. Every 7th, every 10th, every 15th email that you have with them is not content, it's a pitch. And those pitches are where you build up your 5-figure of lifetime value from a subscriber, where you can finance the new subscribers on the list. But anyway, you get the right people in the funnel, they're going to be buying at a high rate. Them buying at a high rate means you can finance more of them in the funnel. If you try to go for the cheapest ones, you're not going to get the person to buy anything, and it's not going to be the way to go. So anyway, if you have any questions though about anything I shared here, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or a comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. You can ask me any ad-related question, by the way, that you'd like, as this is a channel about ads, and I can use my 15 years of experience to try to help you out as best as I can with what you're trying to do with ads and trying to grow your business. If you are looking for a channel that will tell you the most you could possibly find out about how to run ads successfully for your business online, this is the channel to subscribe to, by the way, as the information I'm giving you on this channel is coming from somebody who manages dozens of different ad accounts at any given time, specifically the strategy side of things. Whereas most of the other content on YouTube that you're going to basically find is people who aren't actually managing dozens of accounts. They're selling courses or they're making money off of YouTube, and they're trying to give you second, third-hand information. They're not actually doing the ad strategy as a full-time 40-hour-a-week job like I am, and therefore the information is not nearly as valid. And I give you all the millions of dollars worth of ad testing and all the stuff that we go through managing the few dozen accounts that we have on a silver platter on this channel for you to learn from, as well as the stuff that doesn't work. So you should subscribe, and you should subscribe right now already. If you like the channel, by the way, you can also find my blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog. The blog has step-by-step instructions on specific strategies that work that you can apply to your business with screenshots, with the tutorials, everything you need to apply them. If you like the channel, you're going to like my blog even more. Most people usually like that even better than the channel when they go check it out. As a side, I run an advertising agency. The name of it's Guaranteed PPC. What makes us different than any other ad agency, though, is that we do not charge our clients a fee until we can get them a minimum increase in profitability from their ads up front, in excess of basically what our fee is. So essentially, we do not take a fee on our end until you already make more than what our fee actually is in terms of added profit from your operation of what your ads that you already got going. So there literally is no fee when you think about it. When you think about it properly, that is, we provide value up front in excess of the value that what we're charging. The only catch is we don't work with just any client. We got to make sure that we can get great results for a client before we take a client on. But if you want to see if we can potentially work together, reach out to my firm at guaranteedppc.com, and I'll be happy to give you an assessment on what you have at the very least and see what profit potential there is to grow your business more than it is already, or just get it profitable. As a side, if you're not looking to work with an ad agency like mine, by the way, or PPC agency like mine, what you can end up doing is you can, as a part of working with our agency, you can instead use our ad templates. If we've worked in your niche market before, and we've worked in over 100 different niche markets in the past, You can take the ads, the landing pages, the campaign templates, all of it that already get results in your space, and we know it because we worked in your space, and copy and paste literally everything we develop for your market that works into your own ad accounts and get the same results we're getting that many times we spent years to figure out the ultimate best way to run ads in that space, saving you time and money. There's literally no situation, if we've worked in your space for years already, done all that hard work, that you're going to save money figuring out everything we had to figure out on your own, at least based upon what we're charging for these templates. You can use these templates, by the way, to start other businesses up, whether that be lead generation businesses where you sell leads to people, which is a great passive income business idea. We got multiple people doing that with our templates by themselves, or start an e-commerce business. If you were trying to figure out how to start an e-commerce business successfully, starting with one of our templates to sell a known item you can get from China easily in a country that our current or past client doesn't operate in and never will, is the easiest way to do it because it's already a proven idea and you can use the templates to get started. It's like having a business on training wheels, basically, to get started with. Anyway, if you're interested in any of those opportunities, you can also reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com. I'll wrap everything up with that. Hopefully that made a lot of sense to you, and I hope to see you in my next video where we'll have another great strategy for you there as well. See you later.